Want to play roulette? Here's a tip. European roulette has a lower house edge than American style. The lower the house edge, the better shot you have at winning. Most online casinos offer European roulette. So, if I were you, I'd get spinning. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
This is the moment every fan waits for. The countdown's over. The road to kickoff has begun.
Play is here to stay.
I'm not going to name names, Kevin.
From win totals to player props, from division races to MVP debates, we've got eyes on every camp and data feeding 24/7, breaking down every angle across the league. Every pick, every edge, every line that matters. SportsGrid. Your road to kickoff starts now.
You know, out of 30 teams, Gabe, only 10 have a winning record against left-handed pitchers. 10-19, and there's one team that's 12-12.
See, I
think it's the Yankees.
Yeah. See, I didn't know the exact number, Scott, but I would have, I knew where you were going with this. In which there's just not as many left-handed hitters. They're not as good against them.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
You have to imagine it'll be Rory and Tommy. So that is just such a strong foursomes pairing. And then I look over here at the Americans. I'm like, golly, if Patrick Cantlay, they just need him to make the team because you got Scotty and Russell. If Xander's going out, you have to him and Pat have been so good in the foursomes. Bryson's going to have to play. Who's he going to play with?
The Smiley Show, only on Sport.
Welcome to NewsWire here on SportsGrid, our midweek edition of the show, creeping closer to week 2 of the NFL preseason. By the way, no games tomorrow, everything Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. But we got plenty to cover here on today's show. We'll talk tons of football here on the program. Stay tuned. Also, baseball discussion. We got Tom Vecchio in the house. We got golf with Brady Cannon, the latest on media news and ratings with Simon Applebaum, and a whole lot more of this edition of the show. So plenty of guests, plenty of stories to get to. And also diving into the latest in sports betting. We'll update you on the tax situation going on in Illinois. Seems like the sports books are certainly not happy with the increased tax rate, and they are reacting as well. But our top story today, just percolating here over the last 10 minutes or so at Cleveland Browns training camp, as Shedeur Sanders, who had such a great week last week and was in line to play a lot this week too for the Browns, maybe being the biggest story in the NFL, honestly, in the month of August. That could be questionable. He left practice earlier today, several reports say, with an oblique injury. So Sanders held out from the practice today. With the games going on Friday, it would seemingly be very difficult to project him actually playing in a game this weekend. And with Kenny Pickett out and Dylan Gabriel out and Joe Flacco is really the only viable starting quarterback, that could mean Snoop Huntley plays this week. So keep an eye on that point spread for that preseason game coming up with the Browns this weekend. Meanwhile, 3 major sports books in Illinois, FanDuel, DraftKings, and Fanatics, have decided to take matters into their own hands with the state's new per-wager tax by introducing transaction fees on each bet placed. If you raise the percentage, we are going to make our own money on charging fees to place bets. The Illinois Gaming Board clarified the per-wager tax applies to all bets regardless of outcome, including those made with bonuses or even refunded on stake. FanDuel and DraftKings, facing the state's 40% revenue tax and 50% wager charge, may incur additional tax liabilities with these new transaction fees as well. Meanwhile, for those of you who are using the pay system called Venmo, which is certainly very popular, I use it occasionally, used to use it a lot more. I know one person who's not going to be using it anymore. That's University of Oklahoma quarterback John Mateer. Do you hear this one? He's responding to these old Venmo transactions that he labeled as sports gambling on purchases that were surfaced on social media on his page on Twitter, otherwise known as X. Mateer denied ever placing any sports bets and said those transaction descriptions were inside jokes among friends. The transactions were from 2022 when he was a freshman at Washington University. For those unfamiliar with Venmo, you can label your transactions what you're purchasing with. So who knows how this ends up. The last thing that you want to do, by the way, on Venmo is make your transactions private. Why public? Who would ever want everybody knowing what you are purchasing online? It seems ridiculous. Okay, ridiculous money in the National Football League. I don't know. Would you call it that for James Cook? 4 years, $48 million. A running back gets $30 million guaranteed. So that Kyron Williams deal did become the precursor to the James Cook deal. $30 million is just above what Kyron got. And they're talking about him potentially playing every down. First, second, third down. Of course, they have Ray Davis in their backfield, too, who actually kicked an extra point. Did you miss that this weekend? Here's Brandon Beane on getting the job and the deal done, said it was not easy.
Yeah, I mean, these are hard. They're never easy. I think you just try and keep working at it. And, obviously this was something that we had conversations back in the spring. We had to push pause and, focus on the draft and other things. And something that we said we would try to revisit when we got to training camp. And, unfortunately, you never want to hold in or hold out or any of that stuff. You want it all. But at the end of the day, you guys know our motto here. We want to draft and develop and re-sign. And that starts with Terry Pagula giving us, you guys know all the money we've doled out this offseason, and this is another draft pick that we're proud of and excited to extend. And fortunately, late last night, we got it across the finish line.
Yeah, meanwhile, we'll wait to see what happens with the Buffalo Bills this week. Will Josh Allen play? Most indications point to yes this week. Najee Harris, running back for the Chargers, finally doing drills at Chargers practice. He's been out of practice since the early part of July. He had an incident with fireworks back on July 4th. Also, Jets apparently without Sauce Gardner at their practice today, suffering a calf issue. No word on that. Aaron Glenn's going to talk here after practice. I'm sure we'll get that for you soon. All right, the best story in sports right now, right? Unequivocally has got to be the Milwaukee Brewers. Folks, they've won 11 games in a row, a huge feat in Major League Baseball. 4 runs off Paul Skeens, 2. 14-0 the final. Who hit home runs in the game yesterday? Bryce Terang, Caleb Durbin. How about this kid, Andrew Vaughn, they got from the White Sox, former first-round pick. He's been great. Christian Yelich, and also Sal Frelick. Yes, he hit a home run, too. After the game, Frelick talked about this long winning streak for the Brew Crew.
Sal, how do you describe being a part of this last, not just 11 games, but really the last couple of months?
Yeah, it's been fun going out, winning games. Everyone's clicking. Offense seems to be rolling, and really think it starts with our starters and bullpen who have done a great job. I think obviously you see we're scoring a ton of runs, but there's a lot of zeros and ones on the board every game, and that's a credit to them.
How big is it to set the tone like that against Skeens with a leadoff home?
Yeah, wanted to make sure I went up and had a quality at bat first and foremost, and it was just a little bonus that I was able to get one over the fence there.
When you're putting together a streak like this, it's the consistency and repetition, but how do you do that in a game where there's so many facing different kinds of pitchers from at bat to at bat and from start to start?
Yeah, that's our job, I guess. There's a lot of credit that goes to our hitting coaches, Buffy, Connor, E.T., game planning these starters every day, bullpens on new teams that come in. We go up there fully confident, ready to go, committed to our plan, our approach, the one they give us. And as you can see, it's been working out.
Shohei Ohtani homered for the 4th straight game, but it really hasn't made a difference. For some reason, the Dodgers cannot beat the Angels. They've lost all 5 times to them, including yesterday. They rallied to beat them 7-6 in 10 innings. Dodgers seemingly at a breaking point with the Angels. They can't beat them. But how about a breaking point in the season? Here's Dave Roberts on that.
I feel like I don't want to say breaking point or anything, but kind of does it feel like things are starting to kind of build up when it comes to the losses, and maybe the pressure of getting back on track is coming a little quicker?
I don't know. I think that you just got to play better baseball. We got doubled off tonight. We got doubled off in a triple play situation.
just some things that we're also not helping ourselves, right, by playing good baseball. I think that tonight, I thought I saw some good things as far as Henriquez was really good tonight. Emmett found a way to get through 5 innings. But yeah, I mean, we still got to be better on all fronts. And now it's a new season. So, you look at the standings and we just got to play better baseball and find ways to win games.
Meanwhile, the New York Mets have a new all-time home run leader. It is Pete Alonso. He passed Darryl Strawberry last night, 2 home runs, and Mets beat the Braves 13-5. Also, big night for Roman Anthony of the Boston Red Sox. He's been great, and the Sox beat the Astros 14-1. Yankees get a big win yesterday as well. Judge, Stanton each go deep 9-1 over the Twins. Mariners win their 8th in a row. 1-0 win over the Orioles, and Ketel Marte hit a home run for the Diamondbacks as they beat the Rangers by a final of 3-2. Tom Vecchio weighed in on some Major League Baseball next.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
This is the moment every fan waits for. The countdown's over. The road to kickoff has begun.
Play is here to stay.
I'm not going to name names, Kevin.
From win totals to player props, from division races to MVP debates, we've got eyes on every camp and data feeding 24/7, breaking down every angle across the league. Every pick, every edge, every line that matters. SportsGrid. Your road to kickoff starts now.
Did you know sportsbooks tend to draw up tighter bet lines for events that get even more bettors, like championship games or major matchups? My tip? Try betting on less popular sports. You might have a better shot at beating those odds. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Tom Vecchio is with us, getting ready for Pro Baseball today, coming up this weekend. Also makes appearances all over the SportsGrid network throughout the week. Tom, great to have you back here on NewsWire. I believe this is probably one of the bigger stories of the season, if not the biggest. Not just the Milwaukee Brewers, Tom, winning 11 games in a row, but just the fact that they are running away from the pack, and pack meaning everybody in Major League Baseball. I mean, they just took care of Skeens yesterday. They hit home runs. They're also, I believe, one of the fastest teams in baseball, too. Yeah. And just a lot of credit to this organization for not just competing, but as winning as many games as they have.
Yeah, and I like to see that it's done with largely homegrown talent. Great pitching staff, like great top to bottom. I know a lot of people kind of wrote them off early in the season when the Cubs were out to like a 6-game lead, whatever it was, saying, "Oh, it's the Cubs. PCA is amazing. Kyle Tucker is great. Suzuki, like they have all these things." But ultimately, the Brewers have all the pieces that you want. And I understand like they didn't make a ton of moves at the deadline, but at a certain point, they didn't need to. If they believe in the system that they have, they believe in the players. Full credit to them to creating a very well-rounded roster. You can have power at times, you have average at times, you have good starting pitching, obviously getting Woodruff back. And coming into, 2 weeks ago when Mizorowski and Jackson Churio both go on the IL, I said, like, this is a very important stretch for them, and they've done nothing but impress since then.
Yeah, I agree. And their win total right now is closing in on 100 on FanDuel Sports. I mean, that's just not the betting number, not their wins, the betting number, 98.5. They're going to win the Central. They certainly have a shot to win the NL and the World Series. Man, if that ever happened for the Brewers, it's been a long time since they've been in that spot. That's since the 80s, that's for sure. Okay, so what are the Angels doing right that they're beating the Dodgers like over and over again? And by the way, this is not unusual for them. They did this last year too. Angels really, Tom, can't beat anybody consistently, but somehow they have their way with the Dodgers. How?
Right. Well, first off, I think the Angels lineup is a little bit underrated. Like, we know their pitching isn't great. The front end certainly hasn't been good. The back end isn't good, but they have enough power in their lineup. Nolan Schanuel, Nato, Joe Dell. They have like good hitters up and down their lineup where they can cause trouble to opposing teams. And I don't know if it's the Dodgers just have like this big brother, little brother thing. They're like, oh, we can take care of the Angels. And they're not taking them seriously. But at the end of the day, the Dodgers need to be playing their A game. They need to be minding their P's and Q's because they've been struggling. They can't roll into what's it called, the freeway rivalry, whatever it's called over there, that they can just like roll into be like, oh, we're going to take at least 2 or 3. We'll be fine. It's the Angels. We beat up on them for years. That's not the case. So credit to the Angels lineup, and like they love to play spoiler, I guess.
Yeah, so far so good for them, especially against the Dodgers. Meanwhile, the Padres keep winning. They're knocking the Giants back here. 4-1 the final yesterday. Nestor Cortez with a solid game there. And don't look now, but both teams are tied in terms of record to win the West. But the odds makers are telling us that the Padres will not win it. To me, this is such a bizarre number here to see LA minus 310 to win the division. And the same record the Padres, they're plus 230. Now, I believe the Dodgers are going to win too. But, man, like it's so tempting to take the Padres here.
It really is, and they play. I believe they start this weekend, and then they have another set of another series coming up a little bit later. So if you were interested in the Padres, I mean, now's the time to strike. You want to get it before they potentially take 2 out of 3 this weekend against the Dodgers, and you will have a good closing line number. And if they by chance sweep them, if those odds shift, you could theoretically, if the odds move so far, might be able to get the Dodgers at closer even money. And then you have, kind of both sides of it, which would be great to see. Personally, I would say it's nice to think that the Padres can win the division, but if they're good enough to win the division, I think they have, like, you should set your sights higher, meaning they can win the NL. Like, they have a good pitching staff. Michael King is back. Darvish is back. You give me a rotation of Pivetta, Cease, King, and Darvish, like that's a pretty good 4-man going into any series, combined with Mason Miller now at the back end.
All right. Meanwhile, if the Brewers hadn't won 11 in a row, everybody would be talking about the Mariners today. They've won 8 straight games, and they are surging toward the end of the season. And Tom, usually it's these teams, right, that win in August and September that all of a sudden make that postseason surge, and the Mariners are in the midst of it right now.
Right. We saw this last year with the Tigers, who made a big August push, a little bit different circumstance between them and Seattle and Milwaukee. But again, Seattle's kind of the same thing as Milwaukee, like a lot of homegrown talent, great pitching staff, great up front, timely hitting. They obviously improved their lineup with getting Suarez and Naylor, which we always wanted to see for years at this point. And they have all the pieces. And, frankly, I think a Seattle-Milwaukee World Series would be awesome. I know maybe casual fans would say, like, oh, we had Dodgers-Yankees last year. Now we have Milwaukee and Seattle. But, like, the teams match up well. There's good storylines with Cal Raleigh. Mizorowski on the other side, if he comes back healthy, great pitching. We have what we want as baseball fans. And the attrition with the injuries with the Astros piling up. And Spencer Arrighetti is back, but he has not looked the same. Don still isn't back. Lance McCullers, there's so many injuries on the Astros. The Mariners have just crept up time and time again, and now they're sitting here tied for the division.
Right. And right now they're minus 130 to win the West, plus 390 to win the American League. And that is among the top teams in all of the American League to win that pennant, which would be wild to think that they could potentially do that. But Houston, of course, right in the mix as well. Let's take a look at the wild card odds here, Tom. It feels like at this point, it's safe to say, as long as Texas just keeps playing 500 and not these crazy winning and losing streaks, it feels like they win 5 in a row or lose 5 in a row. They don't just go back and forth, but they are at the bottom here. But I think they're in it. I think it is these 5 teams, Tom. Now, here's the biggest question for me. Cleveland, I saw them play, of course, watching the Marlins last night. It seems to me that we are a little bit too low on Cleveland here. I think they easily make a run. I think this goes down to the very last week with them. Jose Ramirez playing like an MVP again, and their top 3 pitchers are as good as anybody in the American League.
They really are. And I think a lot of it comes down to they didn't trade Stephen Kwan at the deadline. And I know they got rid of Bieber. I know Clause's down there, but like not trading Stephen Kwan, like I want to say like bolsters the locker room. Like, hey, we want to keep our guys here. He wants to be here. We want to keep him. I would love to look at how many times they play the White Sox to close out the season, a couple of series to end the year in September. They could grab some games there if the Yankees continue to falter. You know, we could be looking at the Astros on that list before we know it if the Mariners jump up. But having a good, solid team, well-rounded with good hitting and timely power, that's what you want when it comes to October, and that's what the Guardians have.
Tom, have a great rest of your week. We'll catch you Sunday on Pro Baseball Today. Thanks again for coming on Newswire. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Tom Vecchio with us. Coming up next, Sports Grid Sound Off. We'll hear from Kirby, Sharon Moore, Rich Rodriguez going around all of college football next on Newswire. Don't go away.
Vegas knows how to celebrate. If you're headed to Vegas for your birthday, plan ahead to get all the birthday freebies the city has to offer. Just by showing your ID, you could get free cash play, scratch cards, drinks, and food at various venues on the Strip. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
What would you tell the people right now, though? Like, okay, I like the Rams heading into the season, but I'm not sure about Matthew Stafford because people want to get their bets in. People want their team totals. People want to bet week number 1 here. So what's your prognosis on the Rams? We'll talk long-term in a second. Week number 1. Are we just going to say, like, yeah, he's ready. Bullets are flying. He looks great out there because he is a tough dude. But again, a back injury for a quarterback trying to get all that torque on passes, usually not good.
The Early Line, only on Sports Grid.
Joey Ohtani's only seen him 7 times, 7 at-bats. He's got a home run against him. I've been pretty good at jumping in and out with Ohtani. I don't take him to hit a home run every day. The odds are good enough tonight, Scott, at plus 230 to entice me. I've got a bet on Ohtani's season home run prop at 43.5, which, he's nearly there.
In-game live, only on Sports Grid.
He was the first of the wide receiver selected. You know, for some reason, he didn't get the same kind of publicity some other guys in the past have gotten, but I don't get it because I look at the scenario, I look at the talent, and I say he's everything you're going to want here. In PPR leagues, I think he's going to approach 100 catches this year as a rookie, and that's going to blow people's minds, but I think he's going to be that good.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on Sports Grid.
Welcome back to Newswire here on Sports Grid. Do you believe that we are just about 1 week away from the beginning of the college football season? Folks, week 0 is almost here. So let's go around college football right now. We'll hear from Rich Rodriguez as he is back at the saddle at West Virginia. Sharon Moore talking about Michigan. And we'll begin with Kirby Smart as they get ready for their season opener as well here on the Sports Grid Sound Off. All right, let's begin with weather around the country, right? Like here in South Florida, I don't know anything except for it being hot and raining. That's pretty much my day every single day here in South Florida. And it seems like that's the case also a little bit to my north in Georgia as well. As Kirby Smart has the Georgia Bulldogs getting ready for their season opener, which is coming about 2 weeks away for Kirby Smart and the Bulldogs. He talked about the last couple of days of training camp and just the heat and pressure and how hard it is to get these kids in great shape with temperatures approaching 100 degrees in Georgia.
You look back over the years, and the first scrimmage is always a lot of heat, and also they're coming after hot practices, so it's not just that day, it's what's happened the previous 3 or 4 days. And the totality of practicing in 110, 105 heat index a couple of days in a row can take its toll in that scrimmage. And that wasn't the case this time. I don't think that's any indication that we're in any better shape. I think it's just an indication of the weather. So they're really competitive drives, several long drives. I was pleased with the effort for the first scrimmage. We didn't tackle exactly great, which is the first time we really tackled live. We've done a little more live tackling than we have in the past, so we did do some prior to the scrimmage. But I was really pleased with the effort on special teams. I think that's where we set ourselves apart in scrimmages, because we do the special teams within the scrimmage, and we didn't have. We have guys competing for spots on those units, and I thought they competed really hard. So I was pleased. Some silly procedural penalties both ways, but pleased with the effort of both groups. Are just not where we need to be yet.
Now let's check over at the Big Ten, where Michigan, again, one of the favorites to win the national championship and get to the college football playoff. They have a lot of work ahead of them and a tough schedule, as you would imagine, as always. But Sharon Moore, head coach, says that he really likes what he has seen in the month of August from his Wolverines.
Then I love this team. I love the passion. I love the energy. I love the togetherness. That we're going to be a really physical football team. I love our coaches, love our staff. Learn that we're going to be explosive on both sides of the ball. And it's going to come from different positions at different times. And learn that they like to have fun together. Those are the things I really learned about our team. And there's different intricate details of, the scheme and position battles and all that. But overall, for me, when I looked at it, I expressed to the team how much I love them, how much I thought how good I think this football team can be, and where we can climb to. And that's what I learned.
And one of more bizarre suspensions in college football this season. Moore will coach the Wolverines for games 1 and 2. And then be suspended for games 3 and 4. Well, you may remember Rich Rodriguez went from West Virginia to head coach at Michigan, and that did not go well. Rodriguez has bounced around a little bit. He's back in Morgantown now and says he's excited for this new challenge. What is old is new again.
Well, we still had some self-inflicted penalties today. We had 2 procedure penalties. We went live. I think we had 2 holding penalties on the offense when we went live, and those are like turnovers. So those kinds of things we got to get fixed in a hurry. I think we threw I think we threw 2 interceptions, not maybe in live, but 2 interceptions during the team period, which were just weren't bad throws, were bad decisions kind of deal. So got to get all that cleaned up too. So it's still the problem. It's not a problem, but the thing I wrestle with is that if you got to get better running your plays, you got to run your plays. But we also have a lot of fundamental work to get done too. So, but I'm not a believer in a 3-hour practice to get it done. I think you got to get your work in, and then evaluate it, and then fix it the next day.
And anybody who watched West Virginia during those Rich Rod years knows that was a really good college football team. We'll see if he can bring them back to greatness this year. All right, coming up next, we bring in Sam McQuillan from Legal Sports Report. If you live in Missouri, folks, stay tuned because you're going to have legalized sports betting coming fast and furious. Sam has the latest next on Willow.
Vegas knows how to celebrate. If you're headed to Vegas for your birthday, plan ahead to get all the birthday freebies the city has to offer. Just by showing your ID, you could get free cash play, scratch cards, drinks, and food at various venues on the Strip. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
What would you tell the people right now, though? Like, okay, I like the Rams heading into the season, but I'm not sure about Matthew Stafford because people want to get their bets in. People want their team totals. People want to bet week number 1 here. So what's your prognosis on the Rams? We'll talk long-term in a second. Week number 1. Are we just going to say, like, yeah, he's ready. Bullets are flying. He looks great out there because he is a tough dude. But again, a back injury for a quarterback trying to get all that torque on passes, usually not good.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Joey Ohtani's only seen him 7 times, 7 at-bats. He's got a home run against him. I've been pretty good at jumping in and out with Ohtani. I don't take him to hit a home run every day. The odds are good enough tonight, Scott, at plus 230 to entice me. I've got a bet on Ohtani's season home run prop at 43.5, which, he's nearly there.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
He was the first of the wide receiver selected. For some reason, he didn't get the same kind of publicity some other guys in the past have gotten, but I don't get it because I look at the scenario, I look at the talent, and I say he's everything you're going to want here. In PPR leagues, I think he's going to approach 100 catches this year as a rookie, and that's going to blow people's minds, but I think he's going to be that good.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
In December, sports betting goes live in the state of Missouri. It may be the only state to legalize sports betting in 2025, but the good news is we have Sam McQuillan in the house to talk about that and also get to the very latest in New Jersey as well. Sam, thanks for coming on NewsWire. Let's dive right in. December 1st is coming quick. I know the state of Missouri would have loved to have sports betting legal in September. They couldn't do that, but they will get the bowl games in and they'll get the college football playoffs and certainly they'll get the NFL playoffs and Super Bowl as well, but they could be, I guess, the only ones, it feels like, Sam, right, to go online this year?
Yeah, definitely. When you talk about, you have like 38 states that have already legalized sports betting, there's just not that many left. And the ones where it hasn't been able to happen, it's been the same kind of issues and roadblocks. The Utahs of the world, the Georgias of the world, doesn't look like it's changing anytime soon.
So what's the latest in Missouri?
See, as you mentioned, Craig, Missouri has a December 1st launch date where it has to go live in December by that date. Sports betting has to be up. So before then, you have a procedural process. You have rules that have to be passed, rules that have to be regulated back and forth with the applicants coming in. And you also have to approve the applicants coming in. Today, there is a meeting going on where 3 sports books that are applying for licenses, you've got Circa, DraftKings, and FanDuel, all making presentations to the state why they deserve to get one of 2 untethered sports betting licenses. Now, that word untethered is important because there are licenses up for grabs if you partner with the state's casinos or the state's pro sports teams. But to do that, you have to, agree to a deal with these entities and essentially pay the money and make less doing it. So you've got DraftKings and FanDuel, obviously 2 of the biggest sports books. If they don't get one of these untethered licenses, they could easily partner with one of the state's sports teams, one of the state's casinos. They have that relationship in place. For a company like Circa, which is much smaller, they kind of brand themselves as taking money from professional bettors, less kind of commercial bettors where they're not limiting people and they're, more of an option out there if you want to get a lot of money down as opposed to being a big business that squeezes more money out of their customers. This is important for them because they don't have as much capital as those other 2 companies. But for those other 2 companies as well, it's also about, squeezing out competition, making sure that a smaller sports book like Circa maybe can't compete in the state. You've already got BetMGM and Bet365 that have partnered with the casinos and the sports teams in the state. They obviously come from companies with a lot of money, so it's not a problem for them there. But also today, not just the, application process, you're going to hear about the rules that are being put in place, where you have this back and forth. Maybe a company says, here's why this rule shouldn't exist. Here's, how things work. Kind of this period where you hammer things out before it really goes live. So you got a couple other key dates to watch here as well. On Friday, we should hear when the winner is announced for one of these untethered licenses. And then in September, you're going to have the final application for the rest of the licenses, the partner with the casinos and the sports books. November 30th, the rules should take effect. And then hopefully it's smooth sailing. December 1st, you've got a launch. And we're talking about a brand new big market that launches right kind of in the heart of college football season, bowl games, as well as NFL playoffs.
The other big story in sports betting this year has been these sweepstakes and prediction markets. And I know, Sam, you have an update in New Jersey as it gets ready to basically decide whether or not they're still going to be online and live here over the next few months. What's the latest there?
Yeah, really interesting development in New Jersey. A bill that would ban sweepstakes, casinos, and sports books was already passed by the Senate. It actually would have taken effect tomorrow, Thursday, with or without the governor's signature. He's declined to act on it. So there's a 45-day deadline. If he doesn't take action, it goes into effect. But because the assembly is in a recess right now, that deadline is basically on hold until lawmakers come back, which could be in November. We don't have an exact date for when the assembly will reconvene. So it's kind of this strange loophole that gives the industry, the sweepstakes industry, essentially more time to lobby for a veto, to hopefully try to do something to get the governor to take action. Now, I don't think that's likely, but it does kind of create this window for these sweepstakes casinos and sports books, which are essentially these unregulated online platforms that offer casino-style games. They allow people to make picks, much like a sports book, using virtual currency, but players can also play with real money that they deposit, as well as kind of this virtual currency that you can earn through promotions and different programs. So they operate this way to be ruled or be under the kind of the sweepstakes law that governs the U.S., as opposed to state sports betting laws or state online casino laws, which are much more strict. And a lot of players out there say that they basically do this because it feels like a casino. It feels like a sports book. I think 90% of players say that the games likely are gambling. You've had states like New York, Louisiana, Connecticut, Nevada, California. There's a lawsuit, all now kind of cracking down on these games, and New Jersey really just being the latest. But meanwhile, these two trade groups, which are really pushing to keep the games, the Social and Promotional Games Association, as well as the Social Gaming Leadership Alliance, this gives them more time to kind of make good on their issues, or really outline their argument that they say the bill was kind of passed without hearing any, industry stakeholder, any feedback from the sweepstakes themselves, from the industry, and really appeasing kind of the, casino interest in New Jersey. Obviously, it's a big casino state. So if they can maybe make a better argument here, that could, throw a wrench into things. Otherwise, I would say whenever, the recess is over and the assembly gets back together, it probably will go in effect and be banned in New Jersey. But in the meantime, they're allowed to keep operating until it takes effect.
Let's close it out with a discussion that really helps responsible gaming, especially with this company called Bet Blocker that allows people who simply don't want access to ads and be able to go online and bet. Maybe it's something to do with the individual personally, a new partnership involved there. And I just wonder, Sam, if this is the wave of the future too, because I know that there are a lot of folks out there who may have had experiences in the past and have just decided that betting is not for them.
Yeah, definitely so, Craig. I would say this is where the industry is trending. You've got Bet Blocker, which is a free voluntary gambling blocking service, which launched in the United Kingdom in 2019. They block access to over 118,000 gambling sites and over 1,500 apps. Essentially, when you want to block yourself off, or you think you have a problem or you're overdoing it, you can either schedule a cooling off period where you can access these sites later on. You can schedule a period of the year, maybe football season, where you're going to go overboard, or you can just indefinitely block yourself, not just from one app like a DraftKings or a FanDuel, but from all these sites out there, as well as a lot of offshore and unregulated sites, which is very important because, when people don't have access to the legal market, they usually have access to the unregulated market. So yesterday, they announced a partnership with ROGA, which is the Responsible Online Gaming Association. We've talked about a couple times on this show. It's this new group that's being pushed by the top 8 U.S. sports books. I think they represent about 90% of the market, that they've created to kind of pool resources together to combat problem gambling, as a unit, as an industry, as opposed to just kind of on their own, which is pretty important because it's hard enough to get one kind of company on the same page with itself. So getting 8 on the same page is a really big development in the space as well. The fact that they've partnered with BetBlocker, which kind of does the technology they've been talking about for them. They've talked about having one sort of online clearinghouse where if you're blocked from one sports book, you can't go to another. They've likened it to getting kicked out of a bar if you've had too much to drink. That means you can't go and walk into another bar and cause a problem there. So, it's a small stepping stone. I think it's kind of hard to get these technological, a lot harder to get these things done than you would think, especially when you have all these companies coming together. But them partnering with a company that's been doing it for years in the UK, I think is really important. And hopefully it builds on more progress here when we talk about responsible gaming, when we talk about problem gambling, and what the industry can do to combat a problem that sometimes people see it benefiting from.
Sam, as always, great stuff. Thanks for coming on the show. I'm sure we'll catch up later in the week. Thanks for coming on NewsWire.
Yep, appreciate it, Craig.
Sam McQuillan of Legal Sports Report. Everything we discussed, you can read over at LegalSportsReport.com. Big news in the world of the National Basketball Association. ESPN is reporting that Carolina Hurricanes owner Tom Dundon has agreed to buy the Portland Trailblazers from Paul Allen for a valuation of $4 billion. Again, this is the estate of Paul Allen. $4 billion is the price tag, as Tom Dundon will be owner of the Blazers. We'll be back with Simon Applebaum next.
It's threading the needle of a good Cubbies number. But at plus 850, that's tempting. At 17-1 to win a World Series, it becomes interesting. It does. And I would even say the Mets are a little tempting. I know they're struggling massively right now. I understand that. And I think there is a doom and gloom nature.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
Tigers aren't out of first place. They're still in first place, Tom, by 5 games over the Cleveland Guardians. But you see, last 10 games, Detroit Tigers 5-5. Last 10 games, Guardians. Winners of 9 of 11 games, winners of 5 straight games. They're only 5 back now than the Kansas City Royals, sitting at 8.5 back. The Detroit Tigers, so much fun this year, but now facing adversity with a month and a half left in the season.
Pro Baseball Today. Only on SportsGrid.
He is not Derrick Henry. He is not one of those special backs in that sense. A really good one that's been outstanding in fantasy for quite some time. But you can also hear the buzz recently about it being more of a split backfield. And if that's so, then Aaron Jones' value takes a hit, Jordan Mason's value goes up, and there's an opportunity at some point if Aaron Jones misses time where you can see Jordan Mason take that backfield over.
Fantasy Sports Today. Only on SportsGrid.
The Mets are a game and a half up in the wild card race from the Cincinnati Reds. But the Cincinnati Reds are 16-1, Joe. 60-1 to win the pennant here. But I do find myself looking at the New York Mets saying, there's too much talent on that team. And we know how things work out, even with the Philadelphia Phillies in the playoffs last year. Hey, we're a good baseball team. Mets get hot at the end of the year. Mets knock the Phillies out of the playoffs. We've seen that happen before.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Got a lot to cover with Simon Applebaum. The podcast tomorrow will be televised. He's got a new episode coming out. It's going to talk about this new streaming service, another one. This time, this is the big one, apparently. I've heard the big one so many times with these streaming services, but apparently this is now the big one with ESPN. We'll see. Great to have you, Simon. I'm not going to waste time with pleasantries here. We got a lot to get to here. So, look, any coverage and any streaming in the National Football League is a winner. So I guess I should not be surprised that Paramount Plus is extending their pregame show over to streaming, and it's going to be 16 hours? No, I'm just kidding. A couple, right? 2 hours?
Absolutely, Craig. Great to be back with you. And yes, Paramount Skydance, which got married less than a week ago, is making very, very clear they want to be a big player in the sports game. They want to be as great as ESPN or Warner Bros. Discovery or Fox or whoever. We had the $7.7 billion deal for UFC right off the bat, and now they're going to launch the NFL Today Plus first week in September, first week of the National Football League's new season on Paramount Plus, also on CBS Sports HQ and on YouTube. And it's going to be a 2-hour show. It's going to have some interactive features. They will have live look-ins to the games. They'll have expert comedy. We don't know yet who is going to host, who's going to be the analyst. What we do know is that they will have some social media activity in it. There is a downside. If you've enjoyed on CBS Sports Network for the last decade, that other pregame show, that's gone. The resources are going to go to Paramount Plus's show. Adam Shine, who was the host for all of its run of that other pregame show, he is going to become the new Game Break on CBS's Sunday afternoon NFL coverage. So when they go to New York for game breaks, you'll hear Adam Shine's voice giving the highlights throughout the day. So Adam still has a role to play at CBS Sports. By the way, David Burson, who is the president and chief executive of CBS Sports, he is still there under the new regime of Paramount Skydance headed by David Ellison and company. So I think we're going to see more deals made by Paramount Plus for sports, but also with Cindy Holland, the former NFL, the Netflix executive now in charge of Paramount Plus and Pluto TV, you're going to see more deals, not just sports, but also original programming.
Interesting stuff here, Simon. Now, August 21st is the date that's supposed to change everything. ESPN, their new mega content service. Which version is this? I'm not sure. I guess this is the one with the NFL that they're going to be together. What is this going to look like? And I feel like, honestly, Simon, with everything that's happened with the NFL and the red zone and everything moving on, this has to work for ESPN, right? This has got to be the one.
It definitely does. This is what ESPN and its parent Walt Disney are betting the future of their involvement with sports on. They see that ESPN, as far as being a cable and satellite service, is on the decline. More and more people who have smart TV sets and smart devices, they are yanking the umbilical cord off their cable and satellite subscriptions to the point now we have probably less than 50 million cable and satellite households, which of course was ESPN's bread and butter. So they're looking at ESPN, the mega content format that starts next Thursday, as sort of their way to get those subscribers back. It's $29.99 a month, and for that, you get all the ESPN family of networks. You get the ESPN events when they run live on ABC. You get the regional services like ACC Network and SEC Network and their spin-offs. You also get ESPN Plus, you get ESPN3, and you get an ESPN app that will have interactive features. When it comes to sports betting, here's what we know for sure. They will give you personalized betting information. They may even give you a way to track your bets. What we don't know yet, and we've been trying to find out all along, is are they going to allow you to do sports betting over the television set? By the way, it's $29.99 a month. If you don't want the interactive features, which also includes multi-view, on-demand replays, fantasy football information, you can get it for like $11.99 a month. Now, Monday on Tomorrow Be Televised, we're going to have Emily Edwards, who is the vice president of ESPN, who is directly overseeing this venture. And we're going to get to the whole 10 yards about what this service is going to do. We are going to ask about whether ESPN, either at the start or down the road, will do sports betting over the television set, and a whole lot more. She will be on 3:30 p.m. Eastern, 12:30 p.m. Pacific, TalkShoe, Facebook, YouTube. We will do a direct link, by the way, on Facebook and on X. So if you're very interested in ESPN, this main content service, and you want to get the whole 10 yards, listen to Marby Televised on Monday afternoon. We'll get the key source about to talk.
Simon, let me get a clear understanding of this. I've heard different things. Is this red zone version that the NFL Network used to air that was available for everybody, is that going to the mega content service from ESPN this season, this year, or is this next year? I've confused.
No, no, absolutely not. No, because they have to work this deal, which ESPN is going to get the NFL Network and NFL Red Zone in exchange for the NFL getting a 10% stake in ESPN. That has not gone through yet. They have to get regulatory approval, and it looks right now like they will not be able to execute the deal until, at best, next year or 2027. However, and you may not know this, so let's break this. Remember we talked about the NFL draft coverage? NFL draft coverage will continue on ESPN and on ABC, and there will be special material made for this ESPN Mega Content Service next year. So they will have NFL coverage, and they will have NFL special features regarding to the draft, including a new ESPN2 daily show on the NFL draft that will start after the Super Bowl and run right up to the night of the draft.
Fox also getting involved in the Mega Content Service. They launch as well, same day. Feels like they're this is the new day for streaming options.
Yeah, August 21st is going to be like, our president is now saying, Liberation Day. Fox 1. Now, for Fox 1, you get all the Fox services on cable in one space, plus you get the Fox, the broadcast network, on-demand coverage, and so forth. It's going to be also $19.99 a month. Now, that's at the start on August 21st. However, remember Venue Sports? Which is like the Humpty Dumpty that's trying to be put back together. Well, starting 2 months, October 2nd, ESPN, the Mega Content Service, and Fox One will be bundled as a combination bundle for $39.99 a month. And we'll see, again, how that goes. Again, like ESPN, Fox is saying, we've got to get our cable subscribers and subscribers back, and this is the way to do it.
Yeah, it's crazy. Hard to keep up with all this. All right, so I did see this report that potentially Major League Baseball could place Home Run Derby on Netflix. This would be a huge win for them, Simon.
It would. Remember, Netflix wants live events, and this is a big one in mid-season for baseball. I think they could do a very good job if they get it.
All right, Simon, great stuff as always. I wish we had more time, but check out Simon's podcast. Tomorrow will be televised for the very latest. Simon, thanks for coming on the show.
You're welcome, Craig. Take care.
All right, Brady Cannon up next, talking some golf. So stay with us here on SportsGrid. We'll be right back.
Vegas knows how to celebrate. If you're headed to Vegas for your birthday, plan ahead to get all the birthday freebies the city has to offer. Just by showing your ID, you could get free cash play, scratch cards, drinks, and food at various venues on the Strip. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
What would you tell the people right now, though? Like, okay, I like the Rams heading into the season, but I'm not sure about Matthew Stafford because people want to get their bets in. People want their team totals. People want to bet week number 1 here. So what's your prognosis on the Rams? We'll talk long-term in a second. Week number 1. Are we just going to say, like, yeah, he's ready. Bullets are flying. He looks great out there because he's a tough dude. But again, a back injury for a quarterback trying to get all that torque on passes, usually not good.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Joey Ohtani's only seen him 7 times, 7 at-bats. He's got a home run against him. I've been pretty good at jumping in and out with Ohtani. I don't take him to hit a home run every day. The odds are good enough tonight, Scott, at plus 230 to entice me. I've got a bet on Ohtani's season home run prop at 43.5, which, he's nearly there.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
He was the first of the wide receiver selected. For some reason, he didn't get the same kind of publicity some other guys in the past have gotten, but I don't get it because I look at the scenario, I look at the talent, and I say he's everything you're going to want here. In PPR leagues, I think he's going to approach 100 catches this year as a rookie, and that's going to blow people's minds, but I think he's going to be that good.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. As we get ready to wrap up this hour, let's touch up with Brady Cannon, who I feel like when we have Brady here on the show, he doesn't pick Tommy Fleetwood every week, but when he does, I feel like it's an emotional pick for Brady when he takes Tommy Fleetwood because he just wants him to win. I mean, I don't even think it's about the money with you and Tommy Fleetwood, Brady, but this poor guy, man, like I don't know how I could even consider betting him anymore. Like, how's he going to respond from this past week? It was tough.
Yeah, no, and I am glad I wasn't on him last week. And of course, as you know, I was on JJ Spawn. I mean, that was almost even worse. That was the fourth time this season I've had a guy lose in a playoff. The fourth time this season. Crazy. And the second time was Spawn. Anyway, I feel bad for Fleetwood. It's not like he really blew that. He didn't hit a shot that lost him the tournament or anything like that. He didn't hit a shot to win him the tournament. He shot 1 under par on Sunday. That's not going to get it done when, the guys around him are shooting 3, 4, 5, 6 under par. So, once again, he comes up short. He was at a loss for words when they interviewed him afterwards. He's like, I don't know. He always tries to stay so positive, and it's almost like he didn't know what to say. This week, I'm not on him this week because I don't think the golf course is a good fit. But it wouldn't surprise me to see him bounce back. It could be a good week to be on him when everybody else has given up on the guy, if maybe completely.
Yeah, no, it's look, you gotta sometimes get the value guys here. And, Tommy's 20-1 this week. Scotty Scheffler, I mean, this is just ridiculous. Plus 220. I mean, this is no fun at all. Look at this guy. Rory McIlroy 8-1, Xander 18-1, Oberg 22-1. We had Keith Stewart, Brady, on the show. He was I didn't even realize this. He was telling me that that Scotty's caddy is not participating over the last couple of weeks, has some personal issues there, and said he's going another way at this tournament. Do you feel the same way on that?
Well, yeah, not just because of the caddy. And we saw that, I think his name is Brian Doyle, and he has substituted as a caddy for Scotty before when his normal caddy, Ted Scott, has had commitments with the family. I'm not sure exactly what it is in this case, but yeah, Mr. Doyle is back on the bag for a full week. He was with Scotty just for Sunday of last week, and Scotty didn't win. Is there any connection there? I don't know. But no, the formula I have with Scotty now is I can't bet him at plus 220 or plus 280. There was even some 3-1s early in the week, but with 4 rounds of golf to play, I can't bet him at a price like that. Now, if he's 1 shot off the lead or in the lead heading into Sunday and he's minus 250 or minus 500, given the circumstances, yeah, I'm probably going to take a hard look at betting him at that price with only 18 holes left to play. I'm on a couple of guys a little bit further down the board, and they're very popular picks this week. There's only 49 players in the field. So a lot of people in the golf betting space are landing on the same names, and a couple of those popular picks are Ludwig Åberg and Cameron Young. This is a big, long golf course. It's only a par 70 and 7,600 yards. Fairways are pretty wide, so the bombers can bomb here, and no better in the world than Ludwig Åberg and Cameron Young as far as a couple of guys that can really bang it off the tee. So that's where I started my card with those two guys. Cameron Young gets a win a couple of weeks ago, finished 5th last week, and Åberg has 2 top 10 finishes in his last 3 starts. So I like the current form as well.
FedEx Cup standings, Brady. Let's touch on that real quick. JJ Spawn's made a big jump here, so he's up to 30-1 after great performances. Imagine me telling you that back in January that Spawn would have such a great finish. But yeah, Scotty Scheffler plus 225, McIlroy plus 600, Spawn 30-1, Justin Thomas 18-1, just to give people an idea of where things stand, Brady.
It might be to your advantage to take a longer shot because there's no starting strokes this year next week at East Lake Golf Club for the Tour Championship. In the last couple of years, the guy who was number 1 in the FedEx Cup standings, that being Scotty Scheffler the last couple of years, he started at 10 under par and he had an advantage over everybody else. This year, it's the top 30 guys and there's no advantage. It's just another golf tournament. Yeah, Scotty's going to be the favorite, but he does not necessarily have an inherent advantage. So maybe you look down the board a little bit. Again, same formula for me with him at that type of price. I'm going to wait and see if he's there at the lead or near the lead come Sunday, and then possibly dive in at that point.
All right, Brady, have a great rest of your week. Thanks again for coming on NewsWire. We're getting closer and closer to football as well. Thanks for coming on.
You got it, my friend. Yeah, the first contest show, let's see, 2 weeks from Friday. Yeah, I think that's it. I don't know. I'm losing track of time here.
I don't think it's 2 weeks that when they start. Maybe your show
1 week. Yeah, the 22nd. The 22nd. That's the first episode. 1 week.
Oh, okay. That's next week. That's next week. Maybe 2 weeks. Next week. All right, thanks, Brady. We'll be right back.
Vegas knows how to celebrate. If you're headed to Vegas for your birthday, plan ahead to get all the birthday freebies the city has to offer. Just by showing your ID, you could get free cash play, scratch cards, drinks, and food at various venues on the Strip. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
What would you tell the people right now, though? Like, okay, I like the Rams heading into the season, but I'm not sure about Matthew Stafford because people want to get their bets in. People want their team totals. People want to bet week number 1 here. So what's your prognosis on the Rams? We'll talk long-term in a second. Week number 1. Are we just going to say, like, yeah, he's ready. Bullets are flying. He looks great out there because he is a tough dude. But again, a back injury for a quarterback trying to get all that torque on passes, usually not good.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Joey Ohtani's only seen him 7 times, 7 at-bats. He's got a home run against him. I've been pretty good at jumping in and out with Ohtani. I don't take him to hit a home run every day. The odds are good enough tonight, Scott, at plus 230 to entice me. I've got a bet on Ohtani's season home run prop at 43.5, which, he's nearly there.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
He was the first of the wide receiver selected. For some reason, he didn't get the same kind of publicity some other guys in the past have gotten, but I don't get it because I look at the scenario, I look at the talent, and I say he's everything you're going to want here. In PPR leagues, I think he's going to approach 100 catches this year as a rookie, and that's going to blow people's minds, but I think he's going to be that good.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. We're going to be joined by Joe Lisi talking some college football coming up, so make sure you stay with us here on the grid. Meanwhile, we got week 0 to get to, and of course, games begin next week in college football, and then of course, we dive into the very latest in week 1 as well. So let's bring in Joe to talk some college football here as we get closer to not just week 0, but Labor Day weekend, Joe. It's going to be huge here on SportsGrid, lots of coverage as well. Thanks for coming on the show.
Oh, my pleasure. Going to be an electric night, all action across the board, top 25 battles for that Labor Day weekend. And we sprinkle in a little pro action with Bill Belichick making his debut against the TCU Horned Frogs on Monday night. So it's electric come week number 1 of the college football season.
Yeah, it definitely will be. So let's get started here and talk about the big showdown between LSU and Clemson at night on August the 30th. Right now, Clemson 3.5-point favorites. We've seen this open up at 2.5, and it seems to be the steam going toward the Tigers here, Joe. Certainly all eyes will be on Garrett Nussmeier because of the injury that he had in practice. Of course, Brian Kelly says no big deal. Is it a big deal at all? And do you see Clemson being able to take care of business in their own version of Death Valley on opening night for them?
Yeah, battle of the Tigers, Craig. And when you think about it, this line got up to 4.5 earlier in the week. We saw some money come in on Clemson and the home team, Cade Klubnik. And you're talking about a team in the Clemson Tigers that have been basically dominant at home for an 8-year span. They only lost 3 home games. We saw them get knocked off at the end of the regular season by Lenora Sellers in South Carolina, but they're deserving to be favored, especially when you look at LSU. They've lost 3 straight week 1 matchups in, Brian Kelly's tenure, and it all hinges on Garrett Nussmeier. He needs to be healthy in order for the Tigers to put up points and win this matchup. Early on, I'm inclined to take the points in the ball game, but it's not going to be easy for LSU, especially if Clemson can run on the front 7 of the Tigers' defense.
Yeah, and he's practicing right now with a sleeve on his leg, but he's back to fully practicing. And the good news for him, Joe, is that there's still a few weeks until this game begins. It's not like it's this week, so it should be okay. And by the way, week 1 is going to feature 2 players that could potentially win the Heisman. as we know, Joe, the Heisman Trophy Award in the last few years, seemingly it hasn't been determined until October, November. So I don't know that anybody right now, I could honestly say, should be the favorite. I mean, Arch Manning is the popular name, so he's 7-1 on FanDuel, followed by Cade Klubnik, Garrett Nussmeier. One of those two will move up, and the other one will move down after week 1. And then Jeremiah Smith of Ohio State is 11-1. But I got to tell you, I don't know, Joe. Maybe something tells me could be somebody not on this list that wins the Heisman too.
Oh, it's possible. We always talk about the late season push from November straight through the college football playoff. Can a quarterback potentially steal it, or another outside player, or even Notre Dame running back Jeremiah Love? Can we go back to the rushing attack and just how dominant running backs have been? I'll just say this about all three quarterbacks, Arch Manning, Nussmeier, and when you look at Cade Klubnik, they have an opportunity in week 1 to really, I want to say, separate themselves for the Heisman race. Because when you talk about Manning at 7-1 going up against Ohio State, if he lights them up and puts up over 300 yards and they win that ball game as a 2.5-point road underdog, he's definitely going to be in the area of about 3 to 4-1. And when you look at Klubnik and Nussmeier, depending upon how that matchup plays out in Death Valley, whoever wins, and by margin, if they have a dominant game, they could potentially be in front of Arch Manning come week number 2. So that's where the odds are right now. I do give the inside edge to Arch Manning because of the name and because of the team, Texas, the AP, and coaches number 1. But if they lose that week 1 matchup to Ohio State, look for Klubnik and Nussmeier to jump Arch Manning after that game.
All right. Now, Alabama staying true to their school here. And again, going to somebody that came up with the team. The backup quarterback, Ty Simpson, becomes the starter in Tuscaloosa. And this should be a monumental opportunity for a player that I don't think the country knows a lot about, Joe. Do you think that, he is certainly the guy to take that next step for the Crimson Tide this year?
Well, he has experience, Craig, and when you think about a 56% completion percentage, he did rush 8 times last year for 55 yards and a touchdown. But he has to take over for Jalen Milroe. That was one of the most explosive, dynamic, dual-threat quarterbacks, not just in the SEC, but all of college football. When you look at Jalen Milroe's performance last year, he rushed for over 700 yards, had 20 rushing touchdowns, and was single-handedly responsible for 2 big wins in the conference against LSU and against Georgia. So if you take that out of the equation, Ty Simpson has to be elite in order for Alabama to duplicate the success that they had under Nick Saban. I just don't see it. I think it's a tough week 1 battle, even though it's Florida State. They're going on the road with a team that has their back up against the wall. I like the points with Florida State, but Ty Simpson's needs to play elite in that matchup, and more importantly, throughout the regular season for Alabama to make the playoff.
Almost unfair for Kalen DeBoer to have to follow Nick Saban. I mean, how could it be any tougher on any coach in the history of college football than what he is being forced to do? Their win total is set at 9.5, but anything less, I think, Joe, then maybe, would you say getting to the championship? Anything less than that is going to be looked at a failure for DeBoer, and I don't even know how that's even fair.
Absolutely, but Brian Harsin had the same type of success, and I know it's a different animal across Alabama at Auburn, but he basically had 2 years to get it done and get that program to an elite level. Coaching in Alabama in Tuscaloosa is like coaching for the New York Yankees, and when you look at Aaron Boone taking over for Joe Torre and Joe Girardi and all the great coaches that led those teams to World Series, it's the same thing with Alabama. It's college football playoff or bust. He did get 1 year, they were 9-3, but if they start to regress 9-3, 8-4, he's going to be on the hot seat. It's a standard in Tuscaloosa, and they're going up against dominant teams in the conference this season.
Now, going into every college football season is now different because of the college football playoff. This was 5 years ago. This game between Texas and Ohio State, Joe, could determine the early number 1 team in the country. Now, the dynamic has certainly changed. Both teams could easily get into the college football playoff with a loss. But I think whoever wins this game between the Buckeyes and Longhorns could potentially be a top seed in the college football playoff. And the odds makers are telling us it's a coin flip. Ohio State just a 2.5-point favorite, total 47.5 in this game. Rarely do you see such an evenly matched team with both squads going at it in week 1.
It's interesting. It's a rematch of the semifinal playoff loss. Quinn Ewers couldn't get it done. They lose that game 28-14. What's more important for Texas on the road with Arch Manning is they're going to have to run the football consistently. Texas averaged 158 rushing yards per game, but the two games that they struggled in the college football playoff against Arizona State and against Ohio State, they only rushed Craig for 1.7 and 2 yards per carry. They're going to need a better effort on the road against a defense that only allowed 87 rushing yards per game. Jim Knowles is gone. Chip Kelly is gone for Ohio State, and Julian Sayin is basically an inexperienced quarterback, so you give the edge to Arch Manning in that aspect. But playing at home, we saw this line creep as high as 3.5. It's down to 2.5. I give the inside edge early on to Ohio State, but we'll see how it plays out.
We're also so far away from the NFL draft next go around here. It's sort of incredible for me to make any prediction as to what Arch Manning is going to do. I mean, simply put, Joe, if he's the best player in the country and he's as good as everybody says he is, he's going to be the number one pick and he's going to come out. But go sideways sometimes. This is tough to predict.
It is. And if he has, let's just say, an average or an above average season, does he stay in school for an extra year to potentially lead Texas to a national championship and elevate his draft status? Because right now he is the quarterback. He's a Heisman frontrunner. He can only go down at this point, and that's the concern if you're a Texas Longhorn fan.
Joe, great stuff as always. Let's take a quick break. Would you mind around so we could talk some NFL?
Sure.
All right. We'll be right back talking some National Football League with Joe Lisi, going over the top stories of the day, Cleveland and Buffalo. You're watching NewsWire here on SportsGrid. We'll be back after this quick timeout. Don't go away.
Vegas knows how to celebrate. If you're headed to Vegas for your birthday, plan ahead to get all the birthday freebies the city has to offer. Just by showing your ID, you could get free cash play, scratch cards, drinks, and food at various venues on the Strip. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
What would you tell the people right now, though? Like, okay, I like the Rams heading into the season, but I'm not sure about Matthew Stafford because people want to get their bets in. People want their team totals. People want to bet week number 1 here. So what's your prognosis on the Rams? We'll talk long-term in a second. Week number 1. Are we just going to say, like, yeah, he's ready. Bullets are flying. He looks great out there because he is a tough dude. But again, a back injury for a quarterback trying to get all that torque on passes, usually not good.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Joey Ohtani's only seen him 7 times, 7 at-bats. He's got a home run against him. I've been pretty good at jumping in and out with Ohtani. I don't take him to hit a home run every day. The odds are good enough tonight, Scott, at plus 230 to entice me. I've got a bet on Ohtani's season home run prop at 43.5, which, he's nearly there.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
He was the first of the wide receivers selected. For some reason, he didn't get the same kind of publicity some other guys in the past have gotten, but I don't get it because I look at the scenario, I look at the talent, and I say he's everything you're going to want here. In PPR leagues, I think he's going to approach 100 catches this year as a rookie, and that's going to blow people's minds, but I think he's going to be that good.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. We got Joe Lisi with us. By the way, quick note, reporters covering the Chicago Bears say that Ben Johnson, head coach, says everybody plays for the Bears this week. Caleb Williams, all of their players too. For those of you who love betting on the NFL preseason or playing daily fantasy. Just a quick note there. All Bears systems go for week 2. All right, Joe. So we thought all systems go for Shedeur Sanders in week 2 for the Cleveland Browns. That appears to not be the case. Earlier in the show, it was reported by several outlets that Sanders suffered an oblique injury and did not practice today. And so, Joe, I don't see any scenario where he plays this week. It's being speculated that Dylan Gabriel, who may have gotten his first start anyway, will start this week. But a setback, I think, in the grand scheme of things, not a huge deal, but kind of more of a big deal for us, Joe, because we do enjoy this attention on the preseason, and Sanders played pretty well under that microscope.
And if he went out, let's just say, Craig, and performed dominant in this matchup, let's just say after that performance where he completed 14 to 23 for basically 130 yards and 2 touchdowns, he would put pressure potentially on Kevin Stefanski and the coaching staff to move him up where he was basically 4th on the depth chart, right? So this puts pressure, more pressure, I believe, on Dylan Gabriel to perform in this matchup this coming weekend, and we'll see how he actually produces. But if he doesn't have a dominant performance, you have to give the edge to Shedeur Sanders in terms of the young quarterbacks. Now, big picture, I think the Browns have nothing to lose if they rolled the dice with Shedeur. But again, Stefanski's a 2-time coach of the year. He wants to get to the playoffs, and he's on the hot seat as well.
Yeah, Kenny Pickett, once upon a time, also, very high draft pick.
Yeah.
Also, I think they'd like to see him play too. All right, so the Buffalo Bills finally come to terms with James Cook. He gets $30 million guaranteed in this day and age of a running back. That's good. I don't know that this is the same league that we used to know, Joe, 10, 15 years ago, but it's good to see guys like Kyron Williams, James Cook being rewarded. And so no really threat, I don't think, of missing any practice time. Whether it plays this week still remains to be seen. But Cook will be out there a lot for Buffalo this season.
He will, and if Buffalo's going to get back to an AFC championship, they need James Cook to be healthy, and they need him to be happy. That's the biggest thing, Craig. He was looking to shop his house and move out of Buffalo. He wanted the money, and they gave it to him, $12 million a year. What's interesting is that when the Bills lost against the Kansas City Chiefs in the final drive, James Cook was nowhere to be found. It's amazing. He is a home run hitter. And if we're talking big picture to take the pressure off of Josh Allen, you need James Cook to run the football consistently. He has that type of star power like Saquon Barkley. Is he as big in terms of stature? No, but he's a home run hitter. Feed him and pay him.
The Buffalo Bills have, I believe, the highest win total on the board going into the NFL season, Joe. 11.5 is their number. That's just a monster number if you consider winning 11 games is a really good season for them. They're going to win the AFC East. I think that's a foregone conclusion, barring something crazy. And it's Super Bowl or bust, and I don't even think it's, at this point, anything less than that, specifically for this team. Maybe the Chiefs won't be in the way this time, Joe. It feels like they always are.
Yeah, I mean, if they have to play on the road in Kansas City, it just counted as a loss, no matter how good the Buffalo Bills seem to be. But I agree with you. It's AFC Championship, Super Bowl or bust for this team. And again, I think when you just look at it, just look at the AFC East. They're not going to be challenged, I don't believe, by any team. The Dolphins, Patriots, or even the New York Jets. And again, if they go 6-0 in the AFC East, they're going to cruise to potentially a 12-win season. Would I bet the 11.5 to the over? I can't get there just yet, just because we've seen this team at times play down to the level of expectation in the regular season. So I would say I would lean to the under, but they're definitely going to win the AFC East and be one of the top teams in the conference to challenge for a title.
If you're not taking Buffalo and you're not taking Kansas City and you're not taking Baltimore, the hot thing to do this summer is to bet the Cincinnati Bengals. Feels like a lot of people are on them this year, thinking that this is the season they get to the next level. They signed Chase in the offseason, Higgins, Shamar Stewart. He ends up getting a new contract. Trey Hendrickson, I'm sure they'll get his deal done. I can't see that not happening because their defense is bad as it is. And that will be the question, right, Joe? Like, their offense is probably going to be fantastic again, but they're going to have to stop somebody and do it in September, right? Like, not in October, November, and December. Always getting off to these tough starts.
Yeah, they need help, and obviously Stewart helps them, the edge rusher out of Texas A&M. He's now happy, the contract that he got. This team needs to be peaking at the end of the regular season, but they also need a fast start. They can't go out week number 1 against Cleveland as a 5.5-point road favorite in the dog pound and lose the way they did at home last year to Jacoby Brissett and the New England Patriots. Just cannot happen. They need to start at least 2-0, 3-0 to keep that momentum going. Otherwise, they start slow again, Craig. They're going to be up against it. Zach Taylor's going to be hearing about his job, and this team is going to be hearing that they missed their window of opportunity. That is the pressure that's on Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, and Jamar Chase. I bet that they get to the playoffs, and I think they have a very good shot to challenge the Chiefs and Baltimore and the Bills as the best team in the conference.
11-1 to win the AFC right now, sitting on FanDuel, are the Cincinnati Bengals, and a total of 9.5, which seems like a high number, but it's the direction that everybody has been going. Let's talk about some quarterbacks here. Second year, we just got word we're going to see Caleb Williams. That'll give us a better idea as to how he's looking going into the season. Kind of thought, Joe, honestly, strange decision to not play Michael Penix Friday night. The Falcons have decided not to do that. We'll see Bo Nix, Drake May, Jaden Daniels, second year. How do you feel about these guys? I mean, they're all pretty good, looking pretty good in their first year. Any slump incoming?
Yeah, I think for me that, the two quarterbacks that stand out above the rest would have to be Jaden Daniels and Bo Nix because of how they performed in leading their teams to a playoff appearance. They seem to mature and progress in both of those teams respectively, and they hit the ground running. They're mobile quarterbacks as well. The one concern I do have is with Caleb Williams playing in Ben Johnson's offense, the ability to read coverage, the ability to know where you want to go with the football. I understand that there's talent there, but the consistency with Caleb Williams was not there in the film room, in certain aspects of the game, and at times looked like a deer in the headlights. That is the one concern for me because, again, this team has huge expectations and optimism with an 8.5 win total. I just don't see it.
Joe, as always, great stuff. We'll catch you all throughout the SportsGrid network. Thanks again for coming on the show, and college football right around the corner. Thanks again.
Anytime. Love the show, Craig.
All right, Joe Lisi here with us. Coming up next, it's time for us to have some last licks. We have a new home run king, the New York Mets. And also, what's this tennis player complaining about? I'll tell you about that next. You're watching NewsWire on SportsGrid. It's threading the needle of a good Cubbies number. But at plus 850, that's tempting. At 17-1 to win a World Series, it becomes interesting. It does. And I would even say the Mets are a little tempting. I know they're struggling massively right now. I understand that. And I think there is a doom and gloom nature.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
Tigers aren't out of first place. They're still in first place, Tom, by 5 games over the Cleveland Guardians. But you see, last 10 games, Detroit Tigers 5-5. Last 10 games, Guardians. Winners of 9 of 11 games, winners of 5 straight games. They're only 5 back now than the Kansas City Royals, sitting at 8.5 back. The Detroit Tigers, so much fun this year, but now facing adversity with a month and a half left in the season.
Pro Baseball Today. Only on SportsGrid.
He is not Derrick Henry. He is not one of those special backs in that sense. A really good one that's been outstanding in fantasy for quite some time. But you can also hear the buzz recently about it being more of a split backfield. And if that's so, then Aaron Jones' value takes a hit, Jordan Mason's value goes up, and there's an opportunity at some point, if Aaron Jones misses time, where you can see Jordan Mason take that backfield over.
Fantasy Sports Today. Only on SportsGrid.
The Mets are a game and a half up in the wild card race from the Cincinnati Reds. But the Cincinnati Reds are 16-1, Joe. 60-1 to win the pennant here. But I do find myself looking at the New York Mets saying, there's too much talent on that team, and we know how things work out, even with the Philadelphia Phillies in the playoffs last year. Hey, we're a good baseball team. Mets get hot at the end of the year. Mets knock the Phillies out of the playoffs. We've seen that happen before.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Now, welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. I'm Craig Mish. As we get ready to wrap up today's show, we've got the very latest in the world of tennis. Seems like one tennis player was a little bit out of line, or at least an umpire thought so. Also, I'll give you my thoughts on the NFL Red Zone upcoming season. And no doubt it is I think one of the biggest nights to remember in New York Mets history, because after all of these years, somebody finally beat Darryl Strawberry's home run record. It's time now for some last licks. All right, it happened last night. Pete Alonso, couple of home runs, and wouldn't you know, after all, Darryl Strawberry has not played for the Mets since when? How long has it been? Is it the 90s, right? It's got to be that long. I'm thinking 84 through maybe 90, played for the Mets, something like that, and ended up having the most career home runs in the history of the franchise. Now, look, it's been a struggle since then to get somebody to hit home runs and stay with the team a long time. I think maybe some people thought maybe David Wright would have that number, and of course, he's up there, had a great career with the Mets as well. But last night, Pete Alonso did it. He broke Darryl Strawberry's record, and wouldn't you know, he was prepared, was Darryl Strawberry, to send a message to the polar bear on breaking his record.
Hey, what's up, Pete? Darryl Strawberry here. I just want to say congratulations on breaking the home run record. Listen, you have worked hard. You have stood up in the pressure of New York City, and you have played well. It is well-deserved. You are a homegrown player. And again, congratulations, and continue to have great success. All the best, buddy.
I can't think of what could have been, by the way, with Darryl Strawberry. We saw, I lived during that time where Dwight Gooden and Darryl Strawberry were the kings of New York in 1985, 1986, 1987. Things kind of went south in a number of different ways for both players. Of course, Strawberry went on to, having a pretty successful career after some downtime with the Los Angeles Dodgers, went to the Yankees, ended up winning a World Series too, sort of reinvented and has refound himself now in this day and age. But man, watching Strawberry play back in the 80s, I thought this guy was guaranteed 500 home runs. At least he did have that New York Mets record. Pretty gracious about it, giving that over to Pete Alonso. Okay, first time I've ever heard of this tennis player. Her name is Emma Raducanu. She's playing in a tennis tournament, and get this, during her match, there is, I guess, a baby in attendance here. This is kind of stunning. And the baby is crying during the match. This is a true story. And she complains to the umpire about this. Now, I don't know what she possibly expected this umpire to be able to do. Tell the baby to be quiet? I don't know. So the umpire smartly shouts back at Emma saying, "What do you want me to do? Chuck the child out of the stadium?" Look, we've all been in those situations before. We've been in movie theaters before and shows with crying kids, okay? I've had my own crying kids back in the day too. And it stinks. There's nothing fun about it. But it's just one of those deals where you have to say, well, this really stinks for a minute, and then realize that it's a kid and there's nothing that you can do about it. So a little bit out of form, I would say, for this tennis player. And as long as you are the parent and you got the kid out of there within a sensible period of time, I think you ended up doing the right thing. So Emma got to chill a little bit. Can't stop the baby from crying. Not going to do that. All right, finally, funny post from DraftKings today, and I would wonder if everybody feels the same about this. I certainly do. I'm glad Simon Applebaum was on the show, by the way, to clarify this. I thought for some reason that Red Zone was moving over to the mega content service at ESPN this year. I was like, oh my gosh, I got to buy something new. Because each and every Sunday, I am like the fans that are commenting on this post that DraftKings made today, that the NFL Red Zone is one of the greatest inventions to TV and streaming. I would agree. You know what's funny? Back in the day, I didn't dislike the Red Zone, but I was one of those that had to have all of the games at once. Like, I wanted to go back and forth. And then one year, no disrespect to the NFL Red Zone, DirecTV, or anybody else, I said, you know what? I don't feel like paying $500 for this year, or $400, whatever it was. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to enjoy the Red Zone this year. It was the best decision I ever made, because that's really all I need every Sunday, to just watch that. And then I got a couple of local games on and throw those on in the background, and I watch the Red Zone all day. So yes, totally in agreement. And by the way, ESPN going to make a lot of money off moving that Red Zone over there. All right, that'll do it for the show today. Thanks again to Joe Lisi for coming on the show. Great job by Joe, as always. In addition, thanks to our other guests of the program, Simon Applebaum of the podcast tomorrow will be televised, Brady Cannon, Sam McQuillan, also here on the show as well. Also, thanks to our director, Luke, and for my producer, Frank, I'm Craig Mish. Don't forget our Fantasy Sports Today show coming up this Friday at 3 o'clock Eastern. Make sure you catch it because we're going to break down everything going on as you get ready for your drafts coming up in the month of August and September. Have a great rest of your day here on SportsGrid. See you back here tomorrow, noon Eastern, for our next edition of the show. See you then.